Hello and welcome. This is Frank Hurtte, the founding partner of River Heights Consulting. What you're about to see is a brief tutorial covering issues around special pricing agreements and their related ship and debit programs. Besides the mechanics of all this, we'll touch on how distributors can build a strategy to turn special pricing agreements into a tactical weapon. First, let's start off with some definitions. A special pricing agreement is a formal agreement between the distributor and their supply partners to provide lower than normal pricing to a customer or groups of customers based on specific competitive or commercial situations. A good many manufacturers will mention issues around the Robinson-Packman Act, which limits a manufacturer's ability to provide lower prices to one company over another. While I'm not trying to pass myself off as an attorney, I do want to inform you the Robinson-Packman Act only applies when all things are equal. If the distributor provides some type of extra commercial service or is involved in an unusually competitive transaction against outside competition, all bets are off, and the manufacturer can and most will provide lower pricing. Here's some typical examples of special pricing agreements in action. It's a very large customer, the volume's high, and they leverage that volume to force a lower than normal price level for the products that you provide. Other times, the same tactic is used by a large manufacturing company with many facilities to lock in lower prices in all their plants across the country. Similarly, the government uses all kinds of leverage on some of the things that they buy to get the lowest price on the planet. And while stories of $400 toilet seats seem to abound, people providing things like light bulb circuit breakers, paints, pipes, valves, and fittings, and all the rest of the goodies the government use often find themselves selling at prices which are lower than the typical distributor price level. Sometimes there's competitive pressure from a new market player. Someone's trying to force their way into your own supplier's space and using price as their ticket in. Other times, manufacturers will use very low pricing to hold a position with an old technology product while they race forward to develop their own answer to a competitor's lower priced offering. There can be all kinds of different applications for special pricing agreements. In the old days, special pricing agreement implementation was carried out with distributors placing orders for one set of products at the normal price level and a second set of the same products at a specially reduced price level. This created all types of issues because the distributor had to maintain two sets of inventory, both at different prices. It made purchasing and administrative issues very confusing, and the process was ripe for abuse. Let me give you an example of one of these abuses. Many years ago, I had the opportunity to visit a friend who was in the electrical industry. As I walked through his branch, I couldn't help but notice the gigantic stock of fuse inventory. Since our two territories were roughly similar and I was struggling to get my own fuse business rolling, I asked him a secret, and his answer surprised me. My friend had earned the business of a large OEM based on a special price agreement arranged by his fuse manufacturer. And while technically the special pricing agreement covered only sales to that OEM, he used these very low prices as a tool to capture the business of an increasingly large number of accounts. Basically, he was the low-cost supplier of fuses in his market. While I'm not sure that the manufacturer thought this was cool, the local rep, however, seemed to turn a blind eye to the practice and in many ways was complicit in the sales strategy. While I can't tell you if this was illegal, it did create at least a little bit of moral concern on my part. Partially in answer to the abuses like the one we just spoke of, and sometime in the late 1990s, manufacturers began implementing a new process called Ship and Debit. Here, the distributor buys all of their products into stock at the normal price. They ship orders to various customers, a good many at standard price levels and others at various special level prices. At the end of the month, the distributor submits a report back to the manufacturer showing products sold and their approximate rebate. Then, on a regular basis, the manufacturer issues credit back to the distributor to offset the difference to provide the distributor with the proper gross margin. The whole process of ship and debit seems to be exploding in popularity. And since I'll assume many of the people watching this video are here to better understand what they're getting themselves into, let me say a few words. First, distributors face issues. Data is hard to get. Understanding we're reporting back sales and volumes of products on a customer-by-customer basis. So the reporting's complicated. Now, while most of the modern business systems out there support some sort of provision for handling a ship and debit transaction, these reports still require oversight and attention to detail. As a matter of fact, we recommend some type of check and balance system because any order which is unreported is actually a negative transaction. For the whole supply partner vendor thing, there are some other issues to watch out for. First, there needs to be fast turnaround time. Holding on to a distributor's money for longer than 30 or 40 days really puts them into a competitive disadvantage. And once interest rates pick up and the distributors are paying more for the use of their money, dragging payments out will be an even greater burden. Built into most ship and debit programs is some type of auditing procedure. The auditing process is there to ensure that the distributor doesn't take advantage of the system or follow in the footsteps of my friend from long ago. But let's just say that the auditing process needs to be compact and easy to manage as well. Let's change gears here for just a moment. So far we've talked entirely around the mechanics of moving money from one account to another. But there's another, perhaps even more important issue to talk about regarding special pricing agreements. One of my clients likes to refer to special pricing agreements as the new exclusive. In many ways he's correct, because once a distributor is able to establish a special pricing agreement with their supply partner and a specific customer, that customer becomes their sole responsibility and they become the only distributor the vendor will support at that account. While this cannot protect you from distributors of other manufacturers, it can narrow down areas where you share product lines with several other distributors. To recap, in essence, you have officially marked off your territory with at least one vendor. We like to encourage salespeople of our clients to make absolutely certain that they have special pricing agreements in place prior to investing a great deal of time and energy into working on competitive conversions. Here's another interesting phenomenon. Manufacturers are actually judging their distributors' aggressiveness in the territory by the request for special prices. While this seems a little bit counterintuitive in a day and age when everyone's talking about solutions, value adds, and all the good things they do with customers, in a number of very candid conversations with manufacturing sales managers, I've heard comments which point to the fact that vendors judge us by how often we ask for special pricing on their products. To them, special price requests demonstrate our ability to push and probe the competition and to help them improve their market share. And while this may not have been the case prior to the last Great Recession, it is definitely something to think about as you plan your strategies. Under the heading of David and Goliath, you better believe that the big guys, those national chains, who often lack the ability to go toe-to-toe with their independent counterparts on things like solution creation, engineering, and technical acumen, and things like after the sales services, have become pretty good at blocking in customers. It's important to know that some of these national sales companies are even coaching their teams on how to break into customers where you've already established some type of special pricing agreement. The whole issue is tied to the ability to handle orders at a margin much less than ours. And the point is, if you're not regularly coaching your sales and customer service people on how to request special pricing from manufacturers, when to request special pricing, and the right words to use when making the call, you're going to come out on the short end of this stick. We've got two things in closing. First of all, thank you for your attention. Thanks for spending the last few minutes with us. If you have questions about your own particular special pricing agreement strategy or just the implementation of the strategy, please feel free to either email us at Information at riverheightsconsulting.com. That's info at riverheightsconsulting.com. Or give us a call at 563-514-1104. And Finally, we'd like to remind you, if you haven't taken time to read our short book called The Distributor's Fee-Based Service Manifesto, we really think you should. One of our clients called this a license to make money. We think that this book will help you in all of your dealings and help you better understand the reasons why it's important to place a real value on the things that you do above and beyond deliver products. So this is Frank Hurtte with River Heights Consulting saying have a great day.